What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. But it's Wednesday. So we're obviously we're a little bit delayed on our normal schedule because of travel back from the championship game from the UFL conference championship on Sunday. We drove back on Monday. So we did Horns Forward podcast last night, which then put
Yeah.
us Texans talking football to Wednesday here. So here we are. So
It's
I'm
Wednesday night.
actually
So
it, it's Wednesday
time to
night.
talk
Happy
football.
Wednesday night. Yeah. Um, Normally we come to you from some crazy different studios from places around town, historical places that meant something to us that are no longer with us anymore. Kind of a little homage to our history and stuff like that. Tonight I don't really have anything because I just got through an accident that's on 1604 in Nacogdoches. So if you guys are heading westbound on the 1604 loop and by for any reason trying to avoid that area, it's going to be congested for quite some time. Find a different route, drive safe out there. I know the roads are a little bit wet and a little bit crazy, and Texans apparently cannot drive on wet roads. So just be safe out there. So, Brian, where are you coming from tonight?
Today I'm gonna coming from the Builder Square Studios.
You dirty dog. My
Uh,
uh my favorite shop teacher in high school, he was the wood shop teacher. He part-time gigged over there at Builder Square
oh,
on
nice.
Walsham and 35. It was
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, that
So
was the one. That was the one I always remember too. So
yeah, that was the good one, man.
it was good. It
So
was
obviously
good.
we've got a lot to talk about tonight as I'm, making my way home with Noah and all the animals in the back of my truck and everything. Um, First and foremost, we definitely want to talk about that UFL championship game. What do you want to start with first, Brian? You want to start with the tailgating? You want to get right into the meat of the matter? How do you want to handle this? Because there's a lot to
I say
talk
we
about with
kind of.
just that game alone.
I say we kind of jump into the game. I know we covered a lot of the tailgate and the write up and all that stuff on Horns Forward yesterday, but we didn't really talk about the itself too much. I say we get into that.
Okay, let's get into that. Um, I know there's a lot of theories rolling around right now with kind of what happened with the game, why the Brahmas looked so flat. What's happening, Jackie? How you doing? Um, the whole Chase Garbers thing. Um, I think first and foremost we need to address the fact that Birmingham did come to play. Birmingham was not a bad team. The win that we had against them was not a fluke, but
No,
um, we just had a better game plan. They were not prepared. I think maybe they came in when we played them in San Antonio. They came in a little bit confident, a little bit cocky, and they weren't ready for the upstart that was San Antonio, especially with our defense. Now, going into the championship game, I think they were much better prepared for us, at least with Garbers and with Dormady, whoever was going to get the start, which obviously they announced early that Garbers was going to get the start. So they had plenty of time to game plan for that.
yeah, and I
Um,
think they had an idea that we were gonna try and rely pretty heavily on the rush because that's kind of been, what our strength has been the last, for the better half of the season. And I mean, they played it
mhm,
fantastic. I mean, we had 52
they did.
yards the entire game. So, and then it just got to be where we were so down, we just had to pass. Um,
Yeah.
I think uh I think a lot of it was I think we had a lot of coaching mistakes. Um and I think it started from that first kickoff. And we kind of talked about it, at the game there. Why would they elect to receive the kick and not kick it off and get it at halftime? Um
Hmm.
I know, a lot of high powered offenses will do that to kind of set the tone for the game, go down, get a touchdown, kind of do it early, but that's not our strength. Our strength is defense. So
Yes.
knowing that, you kick off, you make a defensive stop, you get the ball back, and then you play the game that first half so you can double up to get a score at the end of the half and then again at the beginning of the half, like what Birmingham did. So I think right
Yep.
there was, it was a coaching mistake on our end, and that just kind of led to the middle of the game where it just snowballed and got out of hand, because that's exactly what happened. Birmingham went, scored a touchdown. We came down. We got to a point where we probably could have attempted a field goal, but instead we went for a quick little out route with 3-4 seconds left in the half, and the defender zigged when he should have zagged. Maybe he would have ran out with 1 second left to run a kickoff, but who knows? I
Yep.
honestly, on that last play of the drive, they should have attempted a field goal just to, it would have been a 60-yarder, but we've seen Santoso have that leg, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think they should have attempted a field goal there. Um, I think there were a lot of coaching mishaps and stuff that was just, they should have done differently.
I 100% agree with you. Going back to that missed opportunity there, right? Points on the board is points on the board. It may not necessarily help you lead to the win, but 3 points on the board is better than no points on the board. And regardless of whether you're trying to, go for that quick six and force that to happen, or you have to try and settle for, the quick three, if you will. Um, 3 points is better than nothing. And if you go for it and you miss, what do you lose? Nothing,
Yeah,
because you're still, let's say they don't take points away, right? So you're still sitting at zero. So go for what you can get, not try and force what you think you can get. We've tried that and it has not worked. Um, and yeah, I am trying to hypnotize everybody. I'm sorry. It's thank your people in San Antonio that don't know how to drive and caused a major accident on 1604 that has me coming from the mobile studios tonight. This is absolutely insane. I sat in
yeah,
traffic for 15 minutes, but I'm not going to go off on that. I'm going to stay focused on the game here. Um, there were other things also. Um, for example, we talked about it a little bit last night, but I really want to talk about it tonight, because I don't really have to worry so much about hurting certain people's feelings or anything like that. I want to talk about Chase Garbers, and not necessarily uh, in a malicious way, but I think it needs to be addressed because I don't think he realizes what he's actually done to himself here. As most of you guys know, we found out after the game that Chase Garbers has an NFL tryout opportunity. That is not a guarantee. That means he gets to try out for a team.
yeah,
Okay. Um, Whereas the eight, now nine, because you saw one of our other guys got picked up today as well. Um, those nine individuals are signing contracts with the NFL. Now, where they wind up, who knows, right?
yeah.
They may have a starting spot, or they may wind up on the practice squad. I don't
And,
know, but
yeah, these are off season contracts. We saw it last year. A lot of guys get invited to camp,
mhm,
and some of them made it on the team, some of them didn't. That's the game,
right,
that's the league. But yeah, those
mhm,
are, like you said, those are actual contracts and not a chance to possibly potentially get a contract. You know,
right.
so
So with Chase Garbers, he has a chance to try out. That's all that means. He's a guaranteed chance to see if he can get on a active squad or a practice squad or something. Literally means nothing, right? Um, if that truly was the case, and if that truly was how that truly affected how he was playing, which I have to believe to some certain degree that it actually did, Chase Garbers had a responsibility to tell his coaches, hey, I've been given an opportunity. I don't want to blow it by getting hurt in this game.
yeah,
Um, and so that being the case, coach, you need to give the next guy the start, right? They should have put Dormandy in. They should have saved Garbers for, you know, uh, specific situations or as a backup, and then relied heavily on Dormandy and Hogan.
yeah, and
Um,
kind of
I
what Jesse says here. So now what he's showing is, Garbers was making what they call business decisions throughout that game. We saw that when he ran out of bounds a yard short of a first down in the first half. We saw that when he slid
Yep.
a yard short, on the third down in the third quarter. Those were business decisions because he didn't want to go take a hit. Well, the league
Right.
sees that. The league sees this player is not willing to do what it takes to get the hard yard, to put his body on the line, to do whatever it takes to get a win. And
Hmm.
what is an NFL team going to think about a player that is not willing to give it all for the team that he's on? What do they think is he's going to do when he's on their team?
So let's build upon that, right? He's already given himself a black eye for his chances in the NFL. Let's say he does not get that opportunity. Nobody wants to pick him up because of how he handled his business in that championship game. He's going to want to come back to the UFL and try and give it another run. How do you think the other seven coaches, and well, eight really, if you count Coach Wade,
Yeah.
how do you think those other eight head coaches are going to look at him based
Oh,
on
I
his performance,
guarantee
knowing
you how they're
full
going to look
well?
at him. No, they know exactly what he is like, what his character as a player is. You know,
Yep.
it is not a team first player. So,
Right.
hey, you know
Now,
what? He may have to go play in Arena League now because I don't think any UFL teams are going to want to have him.
no. Now, I don't necessarily fault him for making a business decision to protect himself because obviously this is his career. This is how he's going to make money. And I will never fault anybody for taking advantage of a capitalistic society and trying to get as much bag as they can. Okay? Perfectly fine. That's what it's all about. However, when your decisions affect everybody around you without you doing the right thing and giving them the opportunity to make their business decisions to protect their interests, that's when I have a problem with it. Chase Garber should have done the right thing here, right? And so this is going to be my do better moment right off the rip. Chase Garbers, you had a responsibility to your teammates, to your coaches, and to these fans to do the right thing by letting somebody know that you were making the business decision for yourself to protect your interests, and that the right thing would be to take you out of the starting rotation and give somebody else the opportunity. That way, the players that were going to be sticking around, that were going to be giving it their all, had their best opportunity to try and win a championship. That way, the coaches had the best opportunity to get their championship, and the fans got the best product from this team that they've been so heavily invested in. We have spent literally thousands of dollars chasing after you guys to show you support and to be there for you and to get your back when things were, at arguably their worst, when it looked like, maybe we weren't going to do so hot. Um, and we wound up pulling out a win. I would like to think that our presence in Memphis made such an impact on the players that they did not give up. And they said, you know what? We're giving it our all, including Chase Garbers. Okay. So again, the do better moment is Chase Garbers. You had an opportunity to do better and you didn't. And as mean as this may sound, um, I hope this comes back to bite you in the behind. Okay, you've shown that you were interested only in yourself, and that's all you care about. And so I hope that the league treats you the exact same way. So Chase Garbers, you should have done better. This one 100% is on you. Sorry, I'm trying to get into my neighborhood.
No, it's all good. You know what? Um, yeah, we've kind of talked about, but he's definitely in thinking he's protecting himself. He's shooting himself in the foot. You know, like Jesse here. He sandbagged his performance for what he expects to be his own personal game, but it's not going to happen because now the league sees, the football community sees what type of player he is, what type of person he
Yep.
is. So
Yep.
yeah, it's gonna end up hurting him more.
Uh, Matthew, unfortunately, it is a gated community, um, but the gate never seems to work. So what's the point in that, right? So, um, so anyways, yeah. This was one of those situations where uh, it, you've got to think about things from a bigger picture aspect. You can't just think about yourself. And if you are going to think about yourself, at least think about yourself in the bigger picture and how, even though you're going to look out and protect your interests, how you can kind of do the right thing in this situation. Again, like we know a couple of people that are working on trying to get to the next level and play as professional athletes, right? They're thinking about what they need to do to get into that program, to rise up in that program, and to move on to like the next steps. Perfectly fine, right? Um, but faced with these decisions, I'd like to think that the people that we know would look at the situation and say, I can be selfish here and worry about protecting my own interests, or I can do the right thing, still protect my interests, and at least give my teammates a fighting chance. That's
Yeah.
the right thing to do. Give your teammates that fighting chance, because some of them, I mean, let's be honest, right? Some of them aren't going to make that cut. Some of them are not going to be able to move up to that next level, right? Some of these guys are on the back ends of their careers, like Luis Perez, stuff like that. I would like to think that if Luis Perez was faced with that opportunity, he would probably make the right decision and say, "Hey guys, look, I can't do this." Right? Even if he was under a gag order from the NFL to where he couldn't talk about it, he could talk to his coaches and say, "Oh man, I got the bubble guts," or
Yeah.
"Oh, my fingers are tingling, I can't feel my hand, I can't do this." Right? Come up with something. Give the next guy up the opportunity, so that way, guys
And
like McFarland and stuff like that have an opportunity to get that ring.
yeah, and to Matthew's point here, how much better would a UFL championship MVP Chase Garbers have fared in NFL tryouts versus the guy who, slid short a couple times because he didn't want
Yep,
to draw contact. So, you know,
100%.
but
And barring any kind of a serious injury, like a neck injury or something like that, how bad could the injuries really be, right?
I mean,
So,
you can hurt your shoulder. I mean, there's fluke injuries all the time, but you know what? I mean, this is the championship. This is what you played your entire year for. And so to play like that, to try and shelter yourself, it's a pathetic, excuse really. But
yep.
I don't think we should put it all on Chase. Let's not go down
No,
that
no,
path
no.
because there was a lot of other, and as much as he's one of my favorite players, you know,
Well, he
Kirkland
was.
really no, Kirkland is
Yeah.
really hurt us this game. He had that one real bad drop pass in the first half, which is what would have been our longest play of the drive. It was kind of a 25, 30-yard pass that he just dropped. He
Yeah.
he fumbled the ball. He's only officially charged with 2 fumbles, but he actually fumbled it a third time. It just was out of bounds. So, he had the one fumble out of bounds. He had the one fumble where we, luckily picked it up, and then we had he had the fumble at the beginning of the first half of the first play of our drive, which gave it to uh, Birmingham, and they went back and scored again. So let's see if
Sorry.
Jay's.
Interwebs connections.
So I don't know if you heard what I was saying, but
Yeah. About the
you
three
know,
fumbles.
yeah, 3 fumbles. I mean, one of them was out of bounds, so it didn't actually count. But I did see it when we were live, and then the other 2 that were on the side, the one that we recovered and the one that we lost. So that was 4. Well, I guess 3 really big plays that could have turned the tide of the game that Kirkland, I mean, he messed up on. So, would
You,
would we have won the game with those? Maybe, maybe not. But that drop was real bad, and that would have given us some big momentum in the game and put us in scoring position. So,
yeah.
I mean, we can bag on Garbers a lot, but it was a bad game by, I mean, damn near everybody. You
Yeah.
know, Matthew, yeah, you know, we we talked about the coach, kind of coaches uh faults earlier, just a lot of stuff where they should have gone for it, should have, different stuff they should have done. But um I think Garbers gets a big chunk of the blame for the game, but he doesn't get it all. So
So I'm officially back now. So
there we are.
yep.
It's like the podcast version of a wardrobe change.
Exactly. So you're right. I my issue is was kind of with Garbers, but it's not 100% with Garbers. It's with just everything, right? The performance of several offensive players, the fact that our coaching staff couldn't seem to figure out what was going on to get it together to give our defense a break. Our defense literally was the star of the show, and even they got worn out and they broke, which is
Yeah.
why we lost by 25-0.
Yeah.
Like that's insane.
And we've been saying that all year. Like this defense has always been a bend but don't break defense, but you can't always count on that.
No, no,
You've
no.
got to you've
We
got to
don't say that. Somebody we know says that.
No,
I've
no,
never said this is
I've said that too.
okay.
I've said
You
that
said
too.
it. I don't say that.
But that's what we were, But eventually, bend but don't break is going to break, and you have to have the offense to back it up. So we didn't have that. And it's kind of what we've been kind of talking about all year long. Like, man, this offense, it's so far it's been good enough to get a win because of our defensive performance, but we want to see more. We want to see more, and we hadn't. But
So Matthew, I can understand why you would ask that question. I don't know that I would say that it's necessarily big stage jitters because most of these folks um, they've got NFL experience, even if it's second, third string, even practice squad. Like most of those cats have been to the big show. I can't necessarily think that most of these guys would be, freaked out or overwhelmed because, it's a UFL championship game. There were about 18,000 people there. It wasn't, like we've had bigger crowds. They played in front of bigger crowds before.
yeah,
So,
but I mean, it was a big game. It was the biggest game of the year. I don't know. I want to say no. I want to say that they're above it, but I don't know. Unless we were getting into the players' heads, I mean, it wasn't. It the stuff that we saw was stuff that we've seen progressively throughout the season. It kind of just all hit right at once. We've seen it kind of in spurts of struggles throughout the year, but it was like all of it just fell at once. So whether that was jitters, whether was that just straight getting out coached, which we did. We got out coached, we got out played. So
yeah, and that part, like Mike said, I mean, I hate to say it, but I do agree that is probably most likely what happened here is that we just got out coached, know. And as sad as it is, I mean, it's facts are facts, man. We got whooped, and I would like to think that we could have maybe put up better results, but that just didn't happen. You know what I mean? So it's unfortunate. And sorry, I'm trying to share the socials now, being that I'm home. It was what it was, Jesse asks a very interesting question. And Matthew, I mean, to a certain extent, I don't know that I never necessarily agree with that. I think the way that game got, I mean, yeah, it's one thing to get beat, but that kind of a loss, that's a humbling loss, right? And with everything that fell the way it did, that's one of those situations where you're just like, ugh, I feel bad for our OC. I feel bad for our DC. I feel bad for Wade.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, they showed the videos and everything, and you saw how hyped Wade was and how much he believed that this was going to, this was going to be the year, this was going to happen, and they were going to go out there and they were going to give Birmingham a hell of a fight, even if they didn't necessarily win. They were going to give them one hell of a fight, and maybe for the first quarter, maybe
First
halfway
half.
into the second quarter.
No, first half. I mean, it was only a 8-0 lead at halftime, so it was just second half was when it fell off the rails.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go back and look at the way they scored that touchdown, bro, and I'm not trying to necessarily call a bunch of people out, but 100% I went and watched film. That center held on that long run.
Oh yeah,
that 100% led to that score. Once that happened, right, that really kind of started taking the wind out of the sails. So,
Jesse's question would have been a different game if we were at home.
Maybe. I think the officiating would have been just as bad. I think the home crowd would have been a lot better. We wouldn't have, our players would not have been getting booed as soon as they walked out onto the field, even though all the Battlehawks fans said that they were going to support the Brahmas. I think that the Brahmas fans that were there would have been more into the game. Does it make that much of a difference? Sometimes, yeah.
I think it does. So I think at some point it does. And I you brought it up, and so the Brahmas fans that were there, there was a big group of yellow that was sitting on the Brahmas side of the field, in the in the stands. Good chunk of them between the 40s, 30s, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we were on the front row of the goal line seats, in the end zone, so we had a pretty good view of over there. The entire game, not once did I see that group stand up, start yelling, get loud, get rowdy on defense. And that, to me, that's inexcusable for a fan base in a championship game. That we've heard from the players that they do feed off of that energy from the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard them say it a bunch of times, and to have the one side of the crowd that said they were going to cheer for you boo you as you're coming in, and then your fans that are there, wearing the yellow, wearing your gear, not give a crap. I mean, that's not the reason we lost, but I guarantee you it dimmed the spirits of the players.
Right. Now, I will say I saw somebody post in one of the Facebook groups, basically a whole diatribe about, how it's not right to tell people how to fan and stuff like that. And I get that, right? Maybe some people don't get up and get crazy like we do and everything. But on key moments, such as like, a 3rd and 6 or something like that, where that your noise can disrupt the other team, you kind of have an obligation, right? That's part of that home field advantage. It's part of being a football fan, is that you're supposed to get up and you're supposed to get crazy and you're supposed to do all this stuff.
Again, and you don't have to stand the entire game. You don't have to, participate, do all this stuff, but you do have to get loud at the times where you're supposed to get loud, where it's supposed to disrupt the other team.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's football 101. Mm-hmm. Be quiet on offense, be loud on defense.
Yeah. It's basic stuff. But I get it. I mean, everybody fans a little bit differently. It would be nice to see a little bit of unity there. And that's one of the things that we've struggled with for a couple of seasons now, is people kind of getting on board and doing the same things at the same times, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping for this next season is that we gain a little bit more traction, we get a little bit more involvement from the team, which it sounds like Moose has pretty much said that's what they're going to focus on, is growing in the marketplaces that they're in.
Which, I mean, they've been saying they've acknowledged their faults in the league, and how long it took to announce the merger, how when Houston wasn't for sure where they were playing at, so they weren't selling tickets. Michigan, wasn't selling tickets for a long time. They could have done a lot better if they had been better prepared. And so they're doing that. So that will lead to better crowds next year, hopefully, if they do everything right.
Yeah.
But
Right here, real quick, Matthew, thank you. It's we appreciate that. We pretty much chased this team to the four corners of the earth, right? There's
yeah,
only one game that I missed. I think only two games that BD missed,
yep,
and the one game that I missed happened to be the XFL championship game, and that's not going to be a thing next year. If we make it in the championships next year, I mean, I'll make sure that I'm there at every single game because we're
yeah,
gonna, as much as this loss hurts, as much as it sucks, we're gonna brush ourselves off. We're gonna pick ourselves back up, and we're gonna chase this dream again next season. And we're gonna continue to chase this dream as long as we have a football team here. And God forbid it ever happens, but if we don't, right, we'll find something else to get passionate about. That's what we do. We're passionate people, man. We chase our, what we are passionate about. So,
yeah. And I'm gonna put up Matthew's comment again, but you know what? I mean, really, shout out to our 210 Brahmasita.
yes,
She planned. The Bulls on tour wouldn't have been a thing if it wasn't for her.
100%.
All of our trips, she put together. Everything and got all the stuff together. So
Yep.
it absolutely 100% is because of her. So big shout
Yep.
out, big thank you.
Planned out itineraries, helped us locate, good deals on plane tickets, Airbnbs, just everything. So 100%, this whole season would not have happened the way it did had it not been for 210 Brahmasita. So to all of our fans, right? Find you a 210 Brahmasita for your group, make this stuff happen. But Jackie, we love you. You truly,
Absolutely.
as Matthew here said, you truly are the GOAT. You're
That's
the
right.
woman. Okay. Now,
So
Matthew,
I'm gonna pull up Brian's comment here.
I don't want to talk about this.
I
I really don't.
think we need to.
I don't think we do. I think we
it's
can put the tinfoil hats away and move on.
I don't. I don't. Let's not get into full on tinfoil hat territory. But let's just say there was a definite bias.
There was some effery going on.
Yeah. Some bullshmickery.
Yes.
Um,
I like that. I'm gonna write that one down. Some bullshit.
I just came up with it.
Nice.
Hashtag
Hashtag bullshmickery.
bullshmickery. Hashtag bullshmickery. That's right. There was. I'm going to preface this with this. We got outplayed. Bottom line, if everything was even across the board, I still think we would have lost because of the way we played the game. But I will say, it felt like we were fighting an uphill battle the entire time. The just everything, the officiating was crap. You know what? It was probably crap for both sides. I did see some false starts and some holds against us that weren't called, but that's been all season long.
Yeah.
But
And-
there's
Well, and I was just going to say, realistically, we're biased, so we maybe don't see the things that our team gets away with, but we'll be the first to admit that, if it's happening on one side of the ball, it's most likely happening on the other.
yeah.
And as long as they're calling it, evenly bad across the board, I mean, that's fine,
Yeah.
But
there was a lot of stuff in the dome. There was a lot more showing Birmingham stuff up on the jumbotrons. When Birmingham was on defense, they had get loud Birmingham. Defense go every time. I only saw that a couple times while we were on defense. They
honestly don't remember seeing it on our side at all.
They did show it for us, but they only showed it a couple times. The broadcast, talking to people who watched the game, there were a lot of Brahmas fans there. There was a lot of yellow, and on the broadcast, they didn't show us that much. They showed a lot of Birmingham, a lot of St. Louis, a lot of every other team. and they didn't, on the broadcast, they didn't show a lot of the Brahma fans. Even on the Jumbotron, they didn't show a lot of the Brahma fans. So it was very one sided. And, Matthew, yes, technically we were the home team, even though it didn't matter. Is because I know in normal UFL games, the home team gets to decide whether they want to kick or receive. You know,
Mhm.
this game, it was actually a coin toss that determined that.
Mhm.
So there was no advantage to being the home team in this one. It was just, they threw us on the home side. So, but it was like what we saw in the broadcast, what we saw in the stadium was very more geared towards Birmingham.
Yeah. So again, it was a rough game. It was a rough loss. There were some things that happened that probably shouldn't have happened the way they did. Player ejections that didn't go the way that they were supposed to. A lot of bias against the XFL side of the house. Just things that made it a little bit sour of an experience, above and beyond the fact that we lost.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into yes, no, I'm not changing. Sorry, bud. I am actually going to be moving things around, and the Brahmas will be featured front and center. I'm sorry, it is what it
As
is.
they should have been from the start. Come on now.
Yes, I was trying to be nice and show love to all my friends. Um, but this was a horrible loss. It stunk, but it is what it is. So
Yeah.
we pack up, we move on, we get ready for the next season.
And
Uh,
I don't we spent a lot of time lamenting this game because it does. It hurt. It was a championship game. We got skunked. It hurts. It sucked that this was the last game of the season and it ended like that. But this game does not diminish the hell of a season that we had as a team. You know, to be picked last in the league, to worst odds for the whole league to win the championship, and to make it to the game. That I mean, we had an awesome season. So as much as it hurts, as much as it stings, I don't want I don't want this one game to overshadow the great, amazing season that we had.
yeah. Um, Brian, I mean, those are good questions. That's probably something that we're going to talk about more in the off season as we, you know, see how things go, especially with the all the camps that are coming up, and
I'll
things
talk about
like
it
that.
now. Bye.
Huh?
I said I'll talk about it now. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye. You know,
Um,
I would like to just find a whole new quarterback next year. Yeah, obviously, I don't want garbage back. Uh,
cool.
Dormady, you know what? He was good when needed, but he also did show some flaws.
Mhm.
So I think there's better talent out there that we could pick
So
up and move to and train the system.
so why not do this? Uh, why not run and see what Hogan's got, or see if you can find another QB1 and keep Dormady as your QB2 for the veteran experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I don't want Q to be our main starter next year.
No.
Because I think there are much better options. I don't know if Hogan is that option.
Well, nobody knows because he's taken 2 snaps the entire season, bro. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, you know. Uh, but yes,
Uh,
100%. I would not bring Q back as a starter. He would be second, potentially third string. I'd be looking for new blood, whether it be Hogan or all new quarterbacks, younger quarterbacks, more mobile quarterbacks, right?
I
Uh,
definitely think that's where we need to get someone who, not a full Adrian Martinez who is going to lead the league in rushing, but someone who, you know, at least can threaten it. I prefer a passing quarterback, like who's but one who can run when needed, not one who is kind of run first, because that is kind of what Adrian he looks for his first couple reads and then he wants to run.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you know
I think
I,
I
I,
think
I would
his
rather have
de-
a quarterback that would pass it downfield.
Mm-hmm. I think Martinez's default option is always to run
Yeah.
and look for the throw if he has to. And we don't want that. We want somebody that can scramble if needed, but for the most part has that, has that laser focus. And that's going to be tough to find, but I have to believe that somebody out there is going to be able to kill it, Matthew's saying here that there were a lot of great quarterbacks that got overlooked in the combine. Well, a lot of it probably was also because of the
just the merger, the way
yeah.
everything worked with that, and this season is going to be entirely different. I don't really know how it's going to work. How many players are the team's going to be allowed to retain, or what? So I guess we'll kind of see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be kind of similar. I'm sure you'll retain a certain number of players, and then out of the pool of players not retained and all the combines is where they're gonna pick up the rest of the to fill the squads out. So
right, and I've got a feeling it's probably going to be like what it was last year. You're probably going to be you're going to probably keep like 10 per team, something like that.
I know this year was what 42 is maybe what they kept. They kept like 42 and then the rest were available for like the drafts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, if they do something like that again and Birmingham keeps 42 of their roster, then I'm calling some bull hawkery. Okay. 100%. But anyways, we'll have to see how everything plays out. Yeah. Right. We've got several months to do the showcases and see what is going to happen. So we'll definitely be talking about that later on in the future.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
I think maybe let's jump over to IFL.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, Matthew saying, IFL quarterbacks to look at. Let's talk about those quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch the game, right, because I was playing Wheelman the entire time.
I was watching and giving you updates as it happened.
Yeah. So let's talk about the San Antonio Gunslingers. Obviously, they pulled off that last minute win. How did they look? How did the team look on offense?
From when because I started watching it a little later into the game, so I didn't get to see the whole thing. But they looked good. I mean, hell, 50 points. It's nothing to sneeze at. So
for a team that's had the offensive struggles that they have, that's a good score.
I mean, they scored in every quarter of this game, so that's a bonus. They put up 24 in the last quarter, so I mean they were down a little bit, but they were able to get back into it. And it was kind of and really Massachusetts they were a good team. They were 6-5 coming into this game, so they weren't one of the bottom feeders. I know they had San Antonio had issues with Duke City last week.
Mm-hmm.
Barely pulled that one out. But Massachusetts was a good team, so this was another good solid win for them. And they won with a missed field goal at the end.
Yeah, here's what really surprises me about this game. If you look at Castronova's stats, he was 28 of 38, 314 yards, 6 touchdowns, right? 53 points. Look at Massachusetts, right? Oh, and then you had 6 yards rushing total, which doesn't really surprise me. I mean, it's
a reasonable, so yeah.
But if you look at Massachusetts, their quarterback, Benefield, went 12 of 20, 144 yards, only 3 touchdowns. And if you look at the rushing yards, they only had 74 yards. I mean, they had 74 yards total, but 3 of those touchdowns, 3 of those led to touchdowns.
I mean, 74 is a lot of rushing yards for an arena team. So,
yeah,
usually you're getting 25, 30. That's kind of what the cap is for these games. 74 is a hell of a lot of rushing.
Yeah. But yeah, that looked like it wound up being a really good game. So congratulations, San Antonio Gunslingers. They went now to 5-4, I believe.
Yes, 5-4 this.
Yeah. Now. So they're still in the hunt.
I'm sorry. No, 6-5.
6-5. Okay. Meanwhile, our friends up north in Frisco oddly enough, had their hands full with the Tucson Sugar Skulls for a little while. I don't remember seeing Frisco score this low. And thanks to our friends again over at Pro Arena Talk for always keeping us updated on information with all the indoor football leagues. Um, but Tucson was 2-8 going into this game. Frisco was 7-3, and they won 35-18. But for a while they were behind, and it looks like they didn't turn it around until like the second half of the game.
Yeah.
And Frisco putting up 35 points total, that's weird for them. So I wish I would have seen this game so I could have seen what was going on.
They've been kind of up and down, just kind of quick scrolling through their scores. They've got 50, 60s, but they've got a 40-point game, a couple of those. They do have one other 30-point game. They had 38 when they lost to the Green Bay. So,
well,
they've kind of been doing this number here with their scoring. So,
yeah, but that's not surprising though, because Green Bay has an incredible defense, right? Which is, again, you're not necessarily known for defense in arena football, but Green Bay has a really solid defense, right? And so they suppress their opponents with their defense and then score just enough just to win, right? And yes, Matthew, 100%. That's Laval, who is now has signed with the Jets. Cole Laval, he was originally a Frisco fighter, made it through combine, got onto the Brahmas, and showed what he could do. And he is now a JETS.
Yep.
Right.
And good luck to him.
Yeah, with my least favorite player, Aaron Ridgers. Hate that dude. But that's a whole different thing. Anyways, yeah, Frisco struggled, but they managed to pull it off, right?
But got the win, so
Yeah. So looking, to next week, week 15, you've got where are my teams at? San Antonio is going to be playing Northern Arizona Wranglers over in Arizona, so that should be a pretty decent game. Sioux Falls will be playing in Frisco against Frisco. So that should be a pretty good game also. Some pretty decent football that's going to be going down there.
And this one, the Northern Arizona, I mean, that if San Antonio wants to kind of stay in the playoff hunt, they've got to get this win. Is it the top 3 or top 4 in each conference that make it? I forget.
I thought it was
top 3.
I think it's top 3, right? Because 2 will play 3.
Yeah,
the winner of that plays 1.
And then
right, and then that winner will play the other conference.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a tight match. Only 2 games separate. The number 3 and San Antonio, but Northern Arizona is one of those teams in the way, so they've got to get this win.
Yep. Now, let's switch over to AIF. Right, we had the championship game this last weekend. Columbus Lions took on the Corpus Christi Tritons. Unfortunately, Corpus did fall short. I watched this game, and it was really weird. Right, thankfully we've caught a couple of Corpus games on the internet, and Corpus looked like a very, very strong contender. In this game, they did not look good at all. I don't know what was happening. I don't know what was going on.
Columbus has been awesome all year long. They've been like top of the league. But Corpus, like they've been good, but they haven't. There was a step in between Columbus and Corpus, what I'm trying to say. We've seen that all throughout the year, and we kind of saw that in this game. Now there were a couple times where Corpus maybe tried to start to make it interesting, and then they throw an interception or something like that, or make a mistake. So it was Columbus's game to lose pretty much, and they just they coasted to a victory.
Yeah, and Corpus was good, but the problem is they were a little bit deceptive with their skill. If you look at some of the opponents that they played, they probably weren't as good of opponents, which made Corpus look better. than what they maybe actually were, and we found that out when they played Columbus.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
really, I mean, the entire season was just weird because there were a lot of, you know, expansion teams or like
fill-in teams from other
non-conference
leagues.
teams, and so a lot of games that were played but didn't really count. And so yeah, Corpus played some of those, and yeah, they'd beat a team by 50 points, but it was to a college team or something like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know,
So it got messy.
yeah,
So let's talk about the sad news coming out of West Texas. Okay. As many of you know, like we cover the AFL, and the AFL has been this humongous hot dumpster fire with too many teams and getting the wrong teams in and the financing and everything just kind of falling apart and all that. Well, unfortunately, the AFL has claimed another victim, and West Texas Warbirds have ceased operations as of yesterday, I believe it was,
yep,
and that's just really really sad. I'm sorry, the West Texas Desert Hawks. What did I say? I said Warbirds. They're not the Warbirds.
yeah. You were thinking NAL.
Yeah, and the really sad thing is that they just won 2 days ago. They played I guess it's Tampa Bay Storm. I'm not sure. I can't tell. Southwest Kansas Storm. I'm sorry. And I caught a little bit of that game, and Desert Hawks looked pretty good, right? I didn't get to watch the whole entire thing, so I couldn't tell you how they looked entirely throughout the game. But they looked like a good team, and like they were pulling in pretty decent numbers and stuff. But apparently, uh, there was just too much of a financial toll making the move over to the AFL, and operations just not being where they thought it was going to be, and so they did have to fold up shop. So, what's up, Elizabeth? Good to see you. Brian, I blocked Brian out. But yeah, so unfortunately, West Texas has folded. So we're still going to probably talk about the AFL a little bit just because we want to see what happens, especially, maybe after this season, once they've had, a chance to maybe kind of right the ship after, some of the mistakes that have been made.
Yeah.
Hopefully it becomes a viable product. And I'd love to see West Texas come back. I don't know if that's going to happen. Heck, maybe even go back to the NAL, right? Because they seem to have great success in the NAL, or maybe get back into the IFL, right?
Yeah.
But it would be nice to see West Texas have a team again, because again, they drew fans. So, definitely hearts out for the players and the fans in West Texas. That's not the way they wanted things to go down, but I mean, it is what it is. So now, I think it's important that we kick back over to the UFL and talk about some of the good that has happened, right? Brian, you still there? You seem a little bit frozen. There you are.
Yep.
Okay. There's been some good that has come out of this season, right? We have seen, I'm sorry, Facebook updates, and it's freaking me out. We have seen at least 9 players get contracts.
It's 11 now.
Okay. Oh, it's up to 11.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
11.
We'll see.
11 players now.
Yeah,
So-
even better. Proof positive that, don't mind my co-host here. He's only going to take up a little bit of space. Proof positive that the concept works, right? We've got at least 2 Brahmas that officially have contracts. We have 1 Brahma that has an opportunity. We have seen that previous players in the past, one, Mr. Romo, is definitely on a squad. He's going to be a kicker. That's one of my enemies, but that's fine. I hope the guy does really well over there, because, and I hope he's the only one that's scoring points. And just put it that way. At least I'd feel okay about that. But this is proof positive that there is a definite need for the UFL. Okay. we've got, at least 11 cats that are going to a squad somewhere and
Yeah,
are going to
and
fill
this
some
is
kind of
just,
role.
the season just ended. I know a lot of the players have been allowed to sign with NFL teams once their season ends. So, but this is the end of the season now. So we're gonna get a lot. I mean, I know last year we had 100 XFL players that were invited to camps and signed on to rosters and stuff for at least training camp and stuff like that. I think we're going to get more than that. I mean, just as what we've talked about all year, the difference of the better competition that the merger provided. I think there's going to be a lot more players that get invited and get these training camp contracts and get the chance to potentially make it to the NFL. So,
Yep.
it's fantastic. That's the whole point of this league. I mean, it's gonna suck to see potentially some of our favorite players playing on Sundays in the fall, but I mean, it's kind of what we signed up for. It's the purpose of this league. So
Oh,
honestly, I
100%.
wish them all the best of luck, and
Hmm.
I mean, I know my Cowboys have signed a couple players. I'm
Hmm.
hoping that they sign a running back from the league because right now they're running with old man Zeke and
Yep.
Uncle Rico, so they need to get
Well,
some different blood in there.
yeah. And I think it's important to note that the Cowboys have actually done quite well dipping into the spring football pool, right? You've got Turpin, who's a wide receiver
Yep.
from, uh,
Turpin, your wide receiver and kick returner, and then obviously Brandon Audrey,
mhm.
who I mean was the place kicker of the year last year. So you
Yeah.
know,
So there is definitely a need for this. And the thing that I like is that these guys are coming off of the season with it being so close with, OTAs and everything like that. They're literally just going to pack up their stuff and go from Arlington to wherever their squad is, and they're in game shape. They're ready to go.
yeah.
And I think
Now,
it's going to make,
you would like to. I know we talked about this last year, kind of the difference between the XFL and the USFL.
mhm.
XFL, the players had about a month or so to kind of let their bodies rest.
Yeah.
There are a lot of nagging injuries that come from a 10 or possibly 12-week season. Get that comment off the screen? What the hell are you doing? But you're right, they do. They can find a freaking quarterback from the UFL too.
Chase
Uh,
Gardner is available.
hell no. Um, but uh, yeah, it'd be nice for them to have a couple weeks just to let their bodies rest because it is a toll on them just for the season. But hey, they're jumping into it. So
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. And again, proof of concept. We talked about this last year, how we thought the XFL players had a better advantage over the USFL players because they had that time to rest. Well, now everything's even. So now we're going to find out if it's actually going to make a difference or not, because they're not really going to have a whole lot of time to rest. I mean, they're going from Arlington to OTAs,
yeah,
so we will see. Maybe maybe with after this season, depending on when the next season starts, maybe we'll see a little bit earlier of a start to give the players a little bit of a chance to rest. I don't know if that's going to actually happen or not.
you know what? I'm hoping so. Just for, I mean, really, I mean, selfish reasons. It's hot as hell when you're trying to tailgate in the end of May, middle of June. So,
Yeah, but especially in that your favorite stadium up in Arlington.
oh yeah, that Cocktail Stadium.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it gets pretty miserable out there. It gets pretty warm, and unfortunately, we can't do all of our games in Detroit. Where the weather is going to be a heck of a lot nicer. But again, this next season, right? We're going to chase the dream, just like we did this last season, just like we did the season before. The part where we're going to be leaning on, you guys, the fans. Make sure you're telling your friends and family about this, right?
yeah,
Lou said it himself. Give them one game, and people are going to get addicted to this. So make sure that you're buy an extra ticket, bring a friend, right? Talk to your ticket rep, see if there's anything they can do to help you out or whatever. But let's help the league get more eyes, uh, on the product, right? And see the need for it and see how important it is and how much fun it can actually be.
Yeah, and
Uh,
the TV numbers were actually really good this year.
mhm.
They and they've kind of it was an increase over both USFL and XFL. The championship had 1.5 million average, and I think it peaked at like 1.7, 1.8, something like that.
Mhm.
Uh, if it would have been a better game, it probably would have been higher. But but that's still I think it was more than last year. So it's you're getting more eyes on this league, which is great. I really want this league to focus on the home markets to bolster up that in-game attendance. I know that this league is primarily going to be a TV league. Um,
Mhm.
Attendance isn't going to be the most important thing for them. I don't care what Battle Chicken fans say. It's going to be the TV viewership, but it does
Yep.
suck to watch a game and see 2,000 fans in the stadium.
Yeah.
So, you
Oh,
know,
and maybe don't report the numbers if they're that bad, but be a little bit more accurate with those numbers, right?
you know
We
what?
know,
You know what? If the numbers are bad, the numbers are bad. Tell us
yeah,
how many people. Tell us how many butts are in seats. I don't care about how many tickets you gave out to the freaking Boys and Girls Club in the city, and you gave away to this company, and only 2 people showed from it, but you gave away 100 tickets, so you're going to count those 100 tickets. Don't tell me there's 8,000 people at a game when I can clearly see there's no more than 2,000 in a game. If
yeah.
it's 2,000 a game, just tell me there's 2,000 a game. Be
It,
honest with me. That's
it,
that's what we talked about that last year a lot. That was one of
mhm.
the big differences between the XFL and the USFL was transparency. We knew how many people were at the XFL games because they told us, and it wasn't tickets distributed; it was through the door attendance.
Yep.
USFL didn't want to tell us how many people were at their games, you
Yeah.
know. So it seems like the league's kind of doing that with the numbers this year. Just tell us how many people came through the door. Even the championship game, 27,000 people. You can kiss my ass. There was more 15,000 people at the most in that
Yeah.
dome.
Yeah. And some of them left early. Did you
Oh
notice
yeah,
it got
yeah.
it
Oh,
got a little bit
absolutely.
thinner in the second half?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just be honest with the numbers, guys. And don't tell me there's 10,000 people at the Birmingham game when I can see there's, you know,
Three or four. Four or
three or
five.
four three or four beer vendors.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't have 3 or 4 beer vendors for 10,000 people. It just doesn't work. Don't tell me Rice Stadium has 8,000 people in it when I'm hanging out with 300 people. Let just be honest, man. Just be
Yeah.
honest. Okay. Um, but don't give up. Keep pushing. Keep talking about it. Make sure you're sharing your ticket reps information with your friends and family. Get people to these games. Hopefully, they start the schedule a little bit sooner so we can deal with it a little bit better and have a little bit nicer weather, especially for the southern teams.
Yeah.
Because I honestly think that some of Birmingham's problem is weather, right? Because it gets hot over
And
there too.
it was Houston too and Memphis also. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, like I don't really blame the fans, but why are you going to pack 10, 15,000 people into a sweat box for a team that's won one game? Like
yeah. That
there
part is going to be hard.
there's not that many dedicated fans. So, I mean, I get why the attendance was so low, but like the league has to do better at marketing and local engagement because really that's what it's going to take, you
Yeah.
know.
Elizabeth actually is asking a really good question. If you want to put that up, um, I am not opposed to Friday night games per se. I think the reasoning for it is a little bit jank, right? They don't want to go up against auto racing,
The indie races and stuff.
right? Are there that many people that care about auto racing that are also watching football,
I
right?
yeah, I don't think that's the same crowd,
No.
but I mean it is a I guess indie is a Fox product. So,
Hmm.
Fox is pushing these games to get there. to not conflict with the Indy races. But as far as a Friday night game, you know, I I don't think right now is a good time for that. Maybe, if the league expands, um, and there's more teams and stuff. Yeah, you could do that because you kind of want to have, I what I didn't like was when they had the two games at the same time, and
Mhm.
just regional coverage. You know,
Right.
you're for all intents and purposes, it's still an upstart league, so
Right.
you need as many eyes on it as you can, and splitting your viewership like that, I don't think is a good business move.
Hmm.
So do the Friday night games when you add extra teams, but right
Right.
now I'm not a fan of it.
Hmm. Now, Elizabeth, you bring up a good question there. Also, Friday nights are high school football nights, but that's during the fall, right? During the spring, you're not going to have Friday night football, right? So it's
Yeah,
not going to affect that in any way, shape, or form. The only major sport, well, the only sports that it's going to be competing with is you've got hockey and basketball, essentially the playoffs, right? You've got spring season starting for baseball, and then you've got the arena stuff that's starting. So there's always going to be something that's going to be competing for
yeah,
interest. Um, but the auto racing, I don't see that as necessarily being a thing. And Tim, no, auto racing is not my favorite sport. I see absolutely no point in driving around in circles. If I wanted to do that, I could go out on the highway and just drive around circles here in San Antonio, and it does the same thing, just waste gas. So no, it's not my thing. Um, but so yeah, you're not really gonna have to worry about it competing with very many high school sports or anything like that. It's really for this situation, it's Fox and it's a money thing, right?
yeah.
They don't want to give up on the money of
And
Indy and
let's
other
I
things.
imagine the indie viewership right now is greater than the UFL viewership. I mean, it is what it is. So they would like to, have their sport, their activity with the higher viewership, take the lead. I get that, but I don't think putting games on Friday is a good move right now. I know we saw the XFL tried that with Thursday night games and Monday night games, and those were some of the worst attended and the worst viewed
Yeah,
games. So
yeah,
I think this is kind of going to be the same for if they do that with Friday nights.
hmm. And Elizabeth, you are right. It is going to affect the tailgating, but that's only part of the experience, and that's something that the UFL isn't really that focused on. Now, that's something that we do as fans, and
Yeah,
that's something we do for ourselves. They don't gain anything from that, so they don't really care about it one way or the other, And people are not going to opt out of going to the game because they can't tailgate necessarily, right? It makes the experience a little less valuable because you don't get the time to hang out with friends and stuff like that. Um, but you know, it's I don't think it's that. Now, Tim, to your point, that's between you and your employer, right? So you may have to work something out where you guys only work half days on game days, and
so
maybe that's
me and
something that
Jason, we're both managers at our job, so psh, let's go.
8 a.m. Can't drink all day if you don't start early.
That's right.
Um, but no, you're right. I mean, these are things that we're going to have to figure out, and these are bridges we're going to have to cross when it comes up. Um, do we try and figure out a condensed tailgate like we had to do this year? Everybody at the Alamo Dome knows that San Antonio had condensed hours as compared to everybody else who had normal hours for tailgating. So we had to get done in 2 hours what everybody else had 4 or 5 for. Um, Tim, you're right. I don't necessarily think like 8 o'clock kickoff is that bad necessarily. I mean, you're going to get out of the game by 11, right? But as long as you can get down to to your local place by 5:30, right? Maybe cut out an hour or two early. Um, maybe some people aren't going to be able to have that luxury though. So that's going to be really interesting to see how the fans kind of adapt to that. But for the most part, most of us should be able to get there within an hour or two of kickoff, and that's enough time to throw down a burger and a couple of beers.
Yeah.
Heck, we've got a policy that where we have a walking in beer, you know, just because, $12 for a 12-ounce beer, that's kind of expensive, dude. And I don't like spending a lot of money. So
Exactly. Not what I can get, at HEB for, a quarter of that.
yeah. So, but again, a lot of this is just speculation. We really don't know what's going to happen until the schedule, like we get closer to time and the schedule comes out and we start talking about that. We do know there are going to be Friday night games. That may be a little bit difficult for the traveling road show. But the adjustments are going to have to be made. Maybe I work through Christmas this next year. It's fine. But maybe not everybody's going to have that luxury. So it's going to really kind of be a case-by-case basis. So speaking of case-by-case basis, I think we've pretty much covered all the cases here. We do have, more football obviously going on. Football has not stopped just because
we still got IFL. We still got the Gunslingers going. They're in the, kind of the tail end of their season, trying to get into the playoffs. So
let's go. Tim, be ready, because that place is going to grow like wildfire.
Nice.
HEB is just going to completely take over, and that's the way it should be. But yeah, so we're still going to keep talking about, updates as things come out in the UFL. Hopefully we see a lot more players getting signed, and we'll keep you guys updated as that happens. We've still got plenty of IFL football to talk about. AIF is done. Yes. I want to talk about this. Definitely want to give a shout out to our friend James Harden, who we actually met because of our Bandito friends. He is killing it over in an arena league. He is playing for which team? I can't remember which team it is. But he's definitely over there killing it. And we want to make sure that keeps happening. But make sure you're following him on Facebook as he continues to talk about his journey. Hopefully he gets an opportunity this next season in the UFL, maybe. Yes, the goats. And that's in Kansas City for me that doesn't know who the goats are. But hopefully he gets a chance in the UFL, right? Because combines are going to be coming up, so we'll see what happens with him for that. But if not, maybe he gets a chance in one of these bigger leagues like the IFL or something, which would then get him an opportunity to get into the UFL. No. He's an incredible young man. We're fingers crossed. We hope and pray for big things for him. So hopefully he just keeps working and keeps destroying it. To Elizabeth's statement, yeah, there's 3 more home games, 5 games total in the season. So if you get an opportunity, go check out an arena game, right? You guys up in the Arlington area, Frisco's not that far away. Go check out the Frisco Fighters. It's definitely entertaining. It's all indoors. It's usually air conditioned. The beer's cheap enough, and the tickets are an incredible price, right?
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun when you don't have some dude on the sidelines yelling to get your guns up while offense is on the field. But other than that, still a great time.
Yeah. So there will, and Elizabeth, you're right. There's that Houston Combine coming up in July. It's going to be absolutely miserable. I feel bad for those young men, but this is kind of the price you pay, right? So we'll keep you updated as we get information from the combines and things like that. I don't know that we're going to be attending any of them this year. We might be conned into it. We'll just have to see what happens. But we're definitely not going to be, we need some time to rest and recover from all these road trips and everything. Yeah. It's been a grueling season, man. So we need a second.
It's been a lot of fun, but it's definitely been taxing.
Yeah. But in the meantime, just keep watching, right? There's going to be plenty of football stuff coming out, right? The camps should be, in full swing in the NFL. So we've got plenty to talk about there. Hopefully we've got, some great updates for, our Houston fans. Hopefully Dallas makes some good moves and really, puts up a powerhouse of a team. Hopefully Green Bay wasn't just a fluke. We'll see what happens there.
All right. It's our year.
Yeah. Plenty of football to talk about. So keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you're following us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram. We're on X. We're on Facebook. We're on
YouTube.
places, YouTube. Oh, definitely want to give a shout out to our friends again over at Pro Arena Talk and our friends at the Alternative Football Network. And just everybody, thank you guys so much for following us. And this has been a crazy, crazy journey. And Green Bay is in Texas, though, right? Because they own AT&T Stadium.
All right, with that, let's go.
I'm just saying.
All right, bye.
We'll see you guys next time. All right.
Later.
Going forward, baby. See ya.